All right, so I'm gonna try something a little different today. My light is probably gonna go out again, but that's okay. But what I want to try different is I'm zooming in a little bit more. I'm used to zooming out for these videos, but I'm gonna zoom in today. This is, by the way, a stick for the sound bowl that I have here. It only dings if I have it like on a surface. Something crazy. I got this as a birthday gift or something like that a little while ago. But yeah, I'm just trying with the zoom in a little bit more. Nothing crazy. But again, as typical for me in these videos, I don't really have an idea of exactly where I'm going to go in terms of what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, we're still going to go anyways. So I was thinking earlier today while I was at work, maybe that's too much to share. Because if I say it, it's just going to be, there's a saying, don't shit where you eat. Is that what, I don't know if that's a saying. Maybe I have it totally wrong. Don't shit where you sleep or don't shit where you work. I don't even know what the saying is, but basically just don't have a romantic thing going on with somebody that you also work with, because if it doesn't work out, things can get kind of ugly. And that's kind of what happened to me. I can't lie. That basically happened to me. But I mean, honestly, it's not even just with that particular person. And I have no beef with that particular person. I wish them the best. I really do. Me and that person are as on good terms as it can get, like, to be honest. But I do realize, because when you've had a relationship with somebody and things didn't go the way that you imagined or would have hoped for it to go, it's not the end of the world, but it almost feels like it in that way, especially if you were really drawn into it. Because if you felt yourself emotionally attached to that person, where you were like, oh man, I really would have hoped things would have worked out, but they pulled out for their own personal reasons or whatever, they weren't in it as much as you found yourself to be in it, then it's really best to have that respect for yourself and just understand. Don't be upset at them. And you know what? It's okay to be upset at them too. It's human. But over time, you'll realize that it was never something that you were really supposed to take out your upsetness towards them. It was really just more time for you to reflect on what has happened, and don't cling on to that person, because clearly that person has now moved on and they have a different partner or something like that, In my situation, the person that I shat where I ate or whatever, again, I don't know what the saying is, but with that person in particular, they ended up having a relationship with another person that we also work with, which was difficult to really kind of deal with. Nothing crazy. I was able to actually, honestly, like, retrospectively looking, and even to this day, because I still work with these people, I'm kind of proud of myself in terms of not making it messy. I never allowed it to become like a big mess or anything like that. It wasn't a mess at all. But boy, I'll tell you, it was difficult. And to this day, even though it's been 2 years, it's sort of like, oh man, like, this wound can open up again just because maybe she says something or something like that, like, I'm not gonna put spoiled milk out there, because like, things just happen, and I'm not gonna name anybody. I'm not gonna say where I work or whatever like that, but just know that in order for you to go on and open that next door and be able to walk through that next door, you can't come through that door with things that are holding you from the past. So, for instance, in this situation that I'm currently in, right, I've had so many experiences through the past couple of years where I've just come to the realization that shit just is not going to work out. Like, I've gone on different dates. I've just gone on different experiences with different people, and it just simply hasn't worked. And I think a part of that, not me trying to find a reason as to why it hasn't worked, but honestly, when it comes down to whatever you're going through, you kind of have to just understand that these things are happening and they're completely out of our control. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually the best thing to realize that these things are out of our control. So at that point, it shouldn't be so much of a big bother, And even if it still is a bother, that's okay. There's no problem with that either. But if you want to improve yourself, if you want to move on and you want to do this and do that, distance yourself from those people. It doesn't necessarily have to be a girl. It doesn't have to be a person. It doesn't have to be a guy or whatever. It doesn't have to be anybody. It literally could be anything that you're trying to move on from in order to improve yourself. You can't cling on to the things that were once what once was. You can't have those things anymore around you. And it's not holding a grudge. It's not anything bad. It's literally just understanding, okay, listen, at one point we were cool people. At one point we were cool people. Now we can, if we even try to pretend to be cool people, there's still the history that was there. Unfortunately, that stuff still exists in the past, and it's not to say that I'm bringing what happened to the past to the present. You just have to understand that simply what has happened did in fact happen, okay? It did in fact happen. And because those wounds are still healing, or quote unquote, they're healing or whatever they're doing, because they still exist, those wounds still exist, I simply can't pretend like that stuff didn't happen and then just be like, okay, but the best thing to do in that kind of situation is just don't respond in a way that engages and entertains what once was. Because in my situation, for instance, with this person that I work with, that I had a situation going on with, where we were both interested in each other, going on dates, blah, blah, blah. Things didn't work out, and that's okay. A few months ago, not even a few months ago, like literally like a month or so ago, we were engaging in conversations, even though she's literally dating another guy that we also work with, which is crazy to say. But we were just engaging in conversations, right, through text. The thing is, in the day and age that we live in, right, it is so simple to kind of just now go back into what once was because of the abilities that we have through technology. I just spat, I'm sorry. The abilities that we have through technology now allow us to be in contact with somebody without that person necessarily having to be in the same room with us or even a few feet away from us or whatever, So it's like, if you still hold on to this person's number, you can reach out to them. Or if they still have your number, they can reach out to you. Now, the best thing to do in that situation is delete their fucking number. It's quite straightforward as that. Delete their fucking number. And don't try, listen, deleting the number can take some time to do. I'm not saying just because whenever I say something like that, like delete their fucking number or something like that, it's okay if you haven't done it. There's no particular time frame. Like, this is the best moment, blah, 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 right? I kind of do say that the best moment to do something is kind of when you're the most aware about it. Because when you're the most aware about it, that is when you can really influence yourself, if that makes any sense, to make that decision and be aware, this is why I'm making the decision, and this is why I'm doing this, and this is how it's going to help me, and this is how it's going to help anybody else that's involved in the situation. Because what's the point of even engaging in conversation if what has happened, okay, there's no going back to that. It's already happened. And if we engage in conversation, it doesn't make me feel any good. It doesn't make me feel any better. In fact, it kind of makes me feel very, very upset that it's just going on. Because why are we engaging in conversations and saying these certain things and admitting to certain things? And it's just like, whoa. That happened 2 years ago. We do not need to revisit that. Just know that we're on good terms. There's no apologies needed. There's no resentment involved. We're cool people, but I just do not know you anymore. Okay? I simply do not know you anymore. You are a completely different person from the person that I thought I knew at that time, and there is nothing wrong with that. I'm just giving myself space from you. And that's nothing crazy to do. That is nothing crazy to do. In fact, it is probably one of the best things that you could do, just to respect yourself and to respect your peace, respect your grace, respect your time. And then you can now focus on better things for you. It now creates space for other things to exist, and everyone wins, More importantly, you win because you allow yourself now to move on from something, and then you can move on to whatever the next best thing is, and I'm sure that next best thing will be better than what you've dealt with before. And if it's not, it's just another lesson that you have to learn. And then there's that, But once something or someone has served their purpose, it's okay to distance yourself from them. It is. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not crazy to do. It really is yourself just being able to stop clinging on from something that once was, that no longer is, and now you can move on, and life will toss something else, maybe crazy, to bring into your life, and then you got to deal with that, and the cycle goes on. It's nothing. I'm not saying anything new. I'm not saying anything crazy. I'm not saying anything out of this world. It's just simply how it works, you know? Like, I've been in these situations, and I've acknowledged, okay, no point in holding resentment. That resentment would only just keep me in that same cycle. So let me make peace with it. Let me distance myself from you. It doesn't always have to be that way, you know? Like, if you can be cool with somebody that did you dirt, maybe they didn't even necessarily do you dirt, but you felt really hurt after an experience with them or something like that, you know? Like, then just distance yourself from that person. Or maybe if they're still cool people, or maybe if things really change between you two, then you can try again or something like that. Or maybe you could be friends. Maybe there could be a relationship. There's so many different possibilities. It's really for life to kind of unfold for you to see. There's no one certain way that something will go, you know? There's just no one certain way. There's no one certain shot. There's no guarantee. Until what is guaranteed is that life will unfold and you will find out what is going to happen, you know? But seriously, it is completely okay for you to distance yourself from people that you've had some history with that is kind of like upsetting, you know? For at least it could be you distancing yourself for some time until you move on to something that is better for you. You know, you're working on yourself, and then boom, you know, you're in a much better space. And if you just so happen to find yourself connected with that person again, it better not be you connecting with that person for the sake of maybe hoping to rekindle what once was. And if that does happen, then it won't be the same way that it was before, you know? Because if it is the same way that it was before, then what are we doing? Are we backtracking? Are we trying to go back into the past? You can't do that. You can't do that. It's not going to work. If it didn't work in the first place, it may not work in the second place, if that makes any sense, you know? Again, no certainty. It may work, but things would have to have changed in order for them to work, you know? Does that make sense? Let me know what you think. But yeah, you can apply that to just about anything, you know? Like, it doesn't have to be a bad relationship. It doesn't have to be, it could be a bad friendship. It could be something that's weighing you down. That's like, you know, something needs to change in order for it to like actually matter or make a difference or be of some significance in the now. All we really have is the here and the now, you know? Of course, we have the memories of things that happened then, but those things aren't here now. And if you try to recreate them, when you put the effort to try to create that again, if it happens, it's not really effort that you put in. It was, in fact, meant to happen. But if you're finding yourself trying to put in that effort and nothing's happening, it's because it's not meant to happen. It really just isn't meant to happen. So again, I don't hold any sort of resentment for anything related to me and that person. You know, what has happened already happened, and I'm okay with that. I've made up with that. I've accepted that. And the same should apply to you in these scenarios. If it's not applying to you right now, it's gonna eventually apply to you over time. You know, it's an unfolding process. Okay, there's no rushing the peeling of the snake's skin. It sounds like a crazy way to say that, but you know, a snake's skin sheds, and you can't rush that process. I mean, I've seen some people just kind of like peel off the snake skin, but even then, they're professional. So if it works, it works. I don't know, but the principle still applies. You can't rush this process. You know, it's gonna unfold the way that it's unfolding at the pace that it's gonna unfold. That's just how life goes. That's ultimately how it goes. You know, so again, the resentment piece. There might have been resentment at that time, but because I've lived with it and have made up with it and have accepted that it's happened, there is no resentment. It's in the past. It happened 2 years ago in my situation, you know? But again, in my situation, I don't believe it to be a situation where something can come up again. Even as friends, it simply cannot happen. Because let's be quite honest, in my situation, if I didn't work with this person, I would probably never see them outside of work. You know what I'm saying? That's how it is for me. Like, if I didn't work in that place, I would never see them otherwise. It's the truth, you know? And if you're not going to see somebody, if there's no reason, or if there's actually nothing happening for you to see that person, that means that person doesn't belong in your life anymore, or at all, or maybe they just will come back at a later time. And don't hope on them coming back at a later time, because that's still you clinging on to what once was. You have to kind of like let it go. And if it's going to rise up again, it'll rise up again. It'll be the universe's plan for you for that to rise up again, but it'll be something new probably at that point. There's no point in revisiting something that you've already experienced, something that was kind of traumatizing, something that was very heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, very emotional. The universe just simply wouldn't prescribe you the same experience again. It's already happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing would ever happen the same way ever again for you personally. Maybe with a different person or something like that. But it would never prescribe you the exact experience because it's already happened. Does that make... It's making sense for me, so I hope it would make sense for you too. But that's pretty much it. I kind of wanted to talk about that because that was on my mind today. In order for you to move on, you can't bring on the weight of the things that were there before. Those things are really there to cement some sort of lesson, some sort of experience. And the longer you cling on to those things, the longer it'll take for you to move on to the next message. But there's nothing wrong with that. And the reason that there's nothing wrong with that is because, again, there's no certainties. It's an unfolding process. Whatever is going to end up happening is going to happen at the pace that it needs to happen at, that it was meant to happen at, So don't be upset at yourself for maybe still clinging on to something that once was that no longer is. It's a part of the unfolding process. You kind of have to give yourself grace and patience and understand that life is going to unfold the way that it's unfolding, and that's simply it. And you can only do so much. You can only control what you can control, and honestly, what you can control is, very limited in terms of what you can't control. There are so many things. There's so much that we can't control, and that's a majority of life. But there's still that few percent that you can control, and you can sort of, at least when you become aware of what you can control and how you can manage yourself, you'll start to finally kind of ground yourself in who you really are. And that's going to help you a shit ton in this crazy, chaotic roller coaster of a life that we really live, Life is so unique and different for everybody, I am me. Of course, there's the whole oneness thing, that we're all in this together. And I totally am down with that, But the experience that each of us live in terms of the people that we know, the stories that we have for ourselves and all that stuff, it's very unique to us, So the unfolding process is going to look very different for everybody, but it's still an unfolding process, and that's how we're kind of all connected. So surround yourself with the people that really love you, that really take interest in getting to know you, that look out for you, that ask you questions, that you ask questions, what they think, the people whose input you care about. Connect as deep as you can with those people, hang out with them as much as you can, because those people are literal angels in your life to help you kind of ground yourself in this crazy, chaotic life that we live. Like, seriously, like, I am beyond grateful for the people that I have around me that genuinely look out for me, that genuinely make life feel good, that make life feel beautiful, that make me feel like, okay, I belong here with the people that I'm around because I am here, and they're here with me too. And I got their backs, they got my back. And there's a few people that I can really say like that. The list has gotten shorter over time, but I wouldn't say the list has gotten shorter over time. I've sort of more realized what the real list is, rather than thinking that that person over there has got my back when the entire time they've kind of been stabbing my back. Like, again, it's an unfolding process. Some things you'll realize, some things you won't realize in that moment, but over time you'll reflect and you'll think, okay, I see now that during that time, this was not what I thought it was. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's an unfolding process. And you kind of have to be comfortable with the fact that it's an unfolding process, because don't beat yourself up over things that are happening, that have happened. Unfortunately, like, it can be real tough. It can be real tough. It's not going to be easy at all. But when you surround yourself with the beautifulness that there is around us, like grounding yourself in nature, going out for walks, I'm just listing things that I do that ground me. But those beautiful things, and you know what they are, and if you don't know what they are now, you'll realize what they are in the moment, because they make you feel good. They make you feel good. So that's pretty much it. I think I've done enough yapping. Let me know what you think in the comments or something. Let me know. I'll respond. If you have anything you want to talk about, if you have any ideas, anything you want to share, anything you want to converse about, I'll be here. I'll be present. I'll be in the comments. I'll be reading what anyone has to say. And that's pretty much it. Now go enjoy your life. And I really do mean that. That's it.